Hello, my friends. It's Monday, January 12th, 2026, and I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, and this is the Radical Russ Show, and I can't even start with music or frivolity because times are bad, my friends. I began this morning opening up my Blue Skye feed to catch some of the latest news that's going on since the murder of Renée Nicole Good. There was some news up about the Golden Globes and celebrities like Mark Ruffalo wearing a little white pin with black letters that say, "Be good." I'm telling you, if you were writing the fall of the United States of America as some sort of movie thriller, this would just be too on the nose. The person being sacrificed would be named Good. The person turning America into a mafia state would be named Dawn. Little too on the nose. And as I'm going through all of the news, I happen upon some videos from Status Quo. These are independent journalists who are braving the protests out in Minneapolis and the actions by our internal secret police to continue ethnically cleansing the United States of America. And in this video, it's dark, it's nighttime, it's cold, of course, it's Minneapolis. Lots of protesters still out, you can hear whistles being blown, and the young man who is... He's got the goggles up on his forehead and a respirator mask around his neck. And he's interviewing a young woman who comes in from off camera. She's small, pixie-ish, maybe 5 foot tall, 5'2" at best. If she's 100 pounds, I'd be surprised. And I use the pronoun she. I think she did in the interview as well, but she may be non-binary by appearance. I don't know. Judging by how she was treated, I think that's the way she was perceived. And her name is Skye. And the interviewer from Status Quo is speaking to her. And you can tell she is shaken. She is I would say she was in shock at that point. She appeared to be very, very shaken. And here's how she introduced herself and described what had happened to her.
So first off, I'm a United States Marine veteran. We were following them from a safe distance.
Following ICE agents.
Yep, following ICE agents. They stopped in the middle of the road and reversed on 62. They tried to ram our car. They tried to get us into a bottleneck. Once I saw a police officer from Mendota Heights, I tried to wave them down, and they funneled us straight into ICE's hands. Once in ICE's hands, they broke my window. They yanked me out by my neck. They threw me to the ground. They stomped on me. They pushed my face into the ground. They put the cuffs on as tight as possible to the point where it took 6 agents to try to get them off.
Willfully inflicting terror and great bodily harm to this person, who I'm sure they greatly outweighed, had far more strength. But I think the important part in that clip is noting how Skye reaches out to the local police department, and the local police department funnels them back into ICE. I think there's been a lot of people online and in general wondering, why aren't the local officials directing their police to protect the people from ICE? Why aren't they directing their state cops? Why aren't they directing the National Guard to come out and protect from these armed, masked, unidentified, unaccountable goons? And I think, because deep down, a lot of those leaders know how that will break. A lot of those leaders know their police ranks are infested with plenty plenty of officers at all levels who would gladly help out, who would gladly disobey, who would gladly say, oh, well, they're the feds. They outrank us. They're not calling out the police. They're not calling out the National Guard to defend us because they know which side the police and the National Guard would be on, and it's not ours. That is the fear I have this Monday morning. That there's no one to save us. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. I did see the clip of the Philadelphia sheriff, naturally a strong black woman, would take to come out and say, no, we will. You come to our town and our cops will stop you. But that's one in one major urban area that has got a large minority population to back her up. These folks are up in Minnesota with immigrant Somalis, and that's about it. Who's going to back them up? Because it sounds like it's not going to be the cops who are going to funnel people like Skye, who are just being observers, following from a safe distance, reporting on the operations of these unaccountable, masked, lawless thugs in their communities. I saw another video of... I'll come back to that one. Let me come back to that one. Let me continue with this one. Continuing from Skye describing her encounter.
So they break the window, they haul you out, they're stomping on you, they're beating you. As they're doing this, are they saying anything?
Yeah, they were calling me a bunch of derogatory names, calling me it. They tried to break my ankle. When he turned my ankle all the way around, I screamed, and he said, yeah, I bet you fucking like that, don't you?
Bet you fucking like that, don't you? That is what we're dealing with. And giving recruitment bonuses and $50,000 and $100,000 salaries to the guys who were the bullies in high school, to the guys who are the domestic abusers. And now that Renée Good has been murdered in broad daylight with multiple witnesses and multiple camera angles, and every single one of those chuds has seen what the response will be, is that the administration will quickly take you off the scene, quickly destroy all the crime scene evidence, quickly evacuate you and your family from your home, and then you'll get a GoFundMe set up for you that will hit its mark within 24 to 36 hours. Every one of them knows the leash is off. The reins are loosened. The directive is given. Terrorize the population. Cow them into submitting. Subvert their First Amendment rights to document the lawlessness that's occurring by threatening them with their own lives.
So they're enjoying what's happening to you. Do you get the sense that they would have been at all cowed if there would have been more
Absolutely
witnesses?
not. They literally said in there, they said, have you not learned? This is why we killed that lesbian bitch.
Have you not learned? Clearly explaining that if you try to be in their vicinity, trying to film them, trying to warn your neighbors about their presence, they feel obligated to kill you. That lesbian bitch. This is how they're treating us. This is how they see us. Straight folks out there listening, cisgender people out there listening, don't think that's going to save us. In the long run, it's not. You're going to be considered a ally if you display a rainbow flag. You show any compassion for those, you'll be lumped in right with them. And so many of these lessons have been learned so many times before, but just because they were only happening to black people and brown people and gay people, most of Americans that look like me didn't learn the lesson, didn't figure out what could happen to us as well. And lest you think this is a one-off, that here's someone who's a Marine Corps veteran, Skye, who presents, at least looks non-binary to me, being discriminated against, being specifically targeted and harmed in a hate crime, specifically going after her and slurring her, how they perceive her to be, how they perceive her sexuality, admitting they killed that lesbian bitch, quote unquote. Lest you think that's a one-off, here's another person Status Coup News was able to track down at the Minneapolis protests.
An agent came and sprayed pepper spray into the vent of our car, even though we had not done anything. We had not done anything. Nothing. And then they came back, broke the windows, took us out of the car, arrested us. And then the driver of the car, the same one that sprayed the pepper spray in, proceeded to say, you guys need to stop, obstructing us. That's why that lesbian bitch is dead. And they were talking about Renée Nicole Good.
That's why that lesbian bitch is dead. And yet, as I scroll other parts of my timeline on Blue Sky, I find people referring to some unnamed Democrats. I didn't catch who they were, and probably a good thing I didn't. But apparently there are some Democrats out there who are complaining that ICE doesn't have enough training. That's the problem. They just don't have enough training. By the way, do you know how many days of training the ICE agents get? It's 47. Literally 47 days to mark the fact that Donald Trump is the 47th president. That's the only reason it's 47 days. Gosh, I guess we should be grateful that we're in the 21st century and they get that many days. And wasn't, Andrew Jackson, they're getting 7 days of training, right? But there are Democrats apparently out there who think that ICE just doesn't have enough training. That the problem is that this goon that we've hired, who takes delight in twisting the ankle of Marine veterans, forcing them into great pain, torturing them for fun, saying, "Oh, you like it, don't you?" And then referring to someone that one of their colleagues murdered as that lesbian bitch, and that she basically had it coming, and anybody else who dares to follow us and exert their First Amendment rights to protest and document, they deserve the same murderous fate. Those fellas just need a little more training. Yeah, we need to get him a chapter on, hey, by the way, fellas, it's wrong to harm people. It's wrong to harm people. We just need to send him to kindergarten. Get him to Miss Rachel. Let Miss Rachel have him for a couple weeks so they can learn what right and wrong are. That's it. They just need more training. That's going to be the worst part of this, should we ever get out of this, is once again, Democrats retreating to Democrats' cave. It's going to be, let's look forward. That long national nightmare is over. We finally got out of the ice age. Now we're in charge and everything's going to be okay. No need for major systemic reforms or anything. No need to abolish ICE and dismantle the Department of Fatherland Security. No, we need those things. Y'all remember that when Kamala Harris was running, they were running on being strong on immigration and tough on the border. Democrats were bragging about working with the most conservative Senator James Lankford. We got the most conservative. We worked together with the conservatives to come up with a really strong stand against immigration. So we're going to have the Republicans back sometime because, once again, Democrats will get into power because Republicans fucked things up so badly that it got apolitical Americans to sit up and take notice and finally vote in the Democrat, like, well, what happened the last time with Trump? Led us into COVID, destroyed the economy, got enough Americans to go, holy shit, I guess we better put in the old white guy. And then the old white guy did what the old white guys do. Well, everything's fine. No need for major systemic changes here. No need to go hard on prosecuting the guys that tried to overthrow the government and hang the vice president. Everything's just fine. I hope this is becoming clear to people out there that this is completely a racial holy war on their side. They are all in on restoring the Confederacy. They believe every bit of progress that has been made in the United States since the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt is an evil stain on American history, a blight on our great republic that must be erased and eradicated. That this was supposed to be a divinely inspired white Christian nationalist homeland. And they are serious about it. And I hope people on the left, I hope people are beginning to understand that there's two camps here. There's two camps. There's the Confederate flag and there's the Progress Pride flag. You're one or the other now. You're going to have to decide which side you're on. They sure have. They believe they've got God on their side. Donald Trump now is threatening Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, the one person who's finally stood up and said, no, this guy's just trying to intimidate me to get his way, and I'm not going to stand for it. Everyone else, the CEOs, the university presidents, big law, the so-called conservative establishment, George W. effing Bush, not a one of them could stand up and call Mafia Don what he is. I hope people are sick and tired of this and this continued thinking like, oh, well, we'll just have to wait for the next election. You don't think those ICE goons are going to be out in force in Milwaukee, in Philly, in Detroit? Think of any swing state city with a significant minority population, and they're going to be there at the polling stations, chasing people down, intimidating people. It's not going to take much to create a dip in turnout, and we are already talking about a midterm election. So start thinking about the fact that this may be beyond elections. We had the entire United States Congress, save one person, write a law that was passed unanimously in the Senate and signed by the president himself, mandating, 3 weeks ago now, the release of the entire Epstein files. They've given us 0.6%. That 0.6% has been heavily redacted. And in the meantime, we've threatened to invade Greenland. We've bombed and invaded Venezuela. We've killed 40, 50, 60 people in doing so. We've captured a foreign leader. We've now threatened the head of the Federal Reserve to destroy the independence of the Central Bank of the United States and basically the dollar as the global reserve currency. That must be really bad in those files, huh? These lessons have been learned before. There was another video, speaking of lessons, and it was from Minnesota, and it was the viewpoint from inside a house, and there is a sheriff wearing a tack vest standing in the threshold of an open door at these people's house. The people looking out the open door seem to be teenagers. The sheriff is talking to this one teenager who's saying, no, you can't come in. The one teenager is replaced by the mother who says, no, you can't come in. This is my house. You can't come in. He proceeds to say, I'm in your house and I own your house. And then she steps up to him and he throws the cuffs on her and violence ensues. Because they were going door to door, apparently. ICE had shut down an entire street and we're going door to door. So you have to provide a little lesson in the Constitution for people who aren't used to this kind of thing. Those of us who smoke weed and had done so since before it was legal tend to know these things in greater detail. I have personal experience in this area of Fourth Amendment law. When the authorities come knocking upon your door, pound, 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 which is always how it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Loud pounds with the heel of the hand. That's the cop knock. When you hear the cop knock at your door, you say, "Who is it?" The thing you do not do is open that door. Under no circumstances do you open that door. They will say, "We're the police," or whoever. "We're ICE," or FBI, or whatever, whoever they say they are. "Yes, what do you want?" "We need you to open the door. We need to talk to you." "We're talking now. What do you want?" "Well, we need to..." Whatever they say. "Go get a warrant." "Do you have a warrant?" "Do you have a warrant? Go away. If you do not have a warrant..." "Well, we could get a warrant and then you won't like what'll happen if we have to..." "Do you have a warrant now? Go away." This is all you do. You completely stonewall them. Never, ever open that door. Because, folks, if they had the probable cause to break down your door without a warrant, they would have already done so. They're trying to get you to open the door because once you open the door, you've unlocked all sorts of little loopholes they can use to justify coming into your house without a warrant. "Oh, I see evidence of criminal activity. Oh, I can hear someone in distress. Oh, I sense with my special cop spidey sense that a crime is in progress." They cannot do that if you do not open the door. The fact that they are knocking on the door and not knocking it down means they need a warrant. Make them go get the warrant. Now, I know this personally because when I was younger, in my 20s, had a little house party, had some friends, got drunk, making lots of noise till like 3 a.m. Cops show up, knock on the door. I open the door. Cop says, "Would you come out here? We need to talk to you." Okay, so I come out. I'm talking to cop. Meanwhile, other cop, I'm out talking to lady cop. Man cop, in the meantime, walks into my home, starts questioning everybody in my home. After I'm done talking to lady cop, I go back inside, see male cop inside my home. I'm saying, "Excuse me, can you just walk into my house like that?" "Yes, I can, blah, blah, blah." "I'm sorry, no, you need a warrant. Get the fuck out of my house." "Are you questioning my authority?" "Yes, I am." And that's when the cuffs got slapped on me and I was taken to jail for obstruction, impeding, whatever the hell. The other instance in which I have experience in this happened in 2016, I believe, when I flew to Idaho, help out with one of their medical marijuana campaigns, and I was staying in a hotel, little motel, off of, is that Chinden? No, off of State, no, downtown, somewhere. Anyway, has a little sombrero on it. Anyway, staying at the motel, and I had just returned from smoking some weed, so I was quite aromatic in my scent. So I returned to the motel and I step into, get relaxed and turn on the TV. It was the Tonight Show. Billy Ocean was on. I remember because he was singing Caribbean Queen. And so I was enjoying that when there was the cop knock at my door. Pound, 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 pound. Boise, what would they call themselves? Probation and parole. What? What do you want? We need you to open the door. No. What do you want? We got reports there was some marijuana smoking going on here. Or no. I think their first excuse was they were looking for someone. Yes, we're looking for so-and-so. I'm sorry, there's nobody here. Well, could you just open the door? We need to talk to you. You got a warrant? If you don't got a warrant, go away. No, look, we need to talk to you. No, I'm sorry. If you don't have a warrant, I'm not opening the door. They made a couple more excuses till they finally broke down and said, look, we know you're smoking pot in there. And this is a place for probation and parole. There's a lot of parolees here, and we don't want to see them go off the wagon or anything. But do you have a warrant? I was so frustrated. They finally ended up leaving. So there's my experience. Don't open the damn door. We're going to have to understand, white folks, straight white folks, that what black folks and brown folks and gay folks have been dealing with for decades and centuries is now going to be inflicted upon us for being leftists. You can already see the direction that this administration is going, trying to paint any opposition as domestic terrorism. They called Renée Good a domestic terrorist. And this was for her merely trying to document where ICE was and what ICE is doing. These are serious times, and I think my podcast from now on is probably going to be a whole lot more serious because I don't know how I can make jokes these days. I don't know how I can make fun of anything these days. So, everybody take care of each other.